political, and some people think it was good, and some people think it was horrible. What was your feeling being there in the stadium?
Well, first of all, I know this: 133.5 million people watched it on average, which is an all-time record.
Yeah.
So you can complain about it all you want. In the stadium, it's a different experience because it's all happening in front of you, but there's this giant TV screen that's giving you the experience of what it looks like at home. So you're trying to look down, and it looks better. Looks better on the screen because you can't really see what's happening, and they're playing to the camera a lot. There's a lot of cameras moving around. It was very interestingly choreographed. All the guys getting out of the car.
Right.
That was set up there. And that, when I saw that car, it's like, that's awesome, because I love those old 70s cars, and it looked like it was tricked out. And I'll say this. I don't know a lot of Kendrick Lamar stuff. We went through that when the Not Like Us song came out last summer. But that guy's incredible. I watched it twice yesterday. For him to be able, in front of 70,000 people, with 133 million watching, to be able to follow the choreography and to spit it the way he was.
Yeah.
Clarity, nailing it, very fast. Like that is a high-level skill that I don't know that some appreciate.
Yeah, right.
The skill that it takes, because it's not singing. No, it's
in-depth
at times
poetry. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. And you got to memorize all of it. And
you're
and
moving
it's
around. You're playing to the
happening.
camera. Yeah, I hear you, Mike. I hear you. Obviously, he's an intelligent guy. That's smart as hell. And the way the whole thing was choreographed.
You got to remember the choreography and the lyrics. And it's fast. And, like, it was perfect. He delivered it perfectly. I was just very impressed by everything that he did. And, of course, my guy Samuel L. Jackson with multiple cameo appearances.
Yeah, that was great. It was great.
Yeah. Somebody from the league told me yesterday, I saw your post on Sunday about seeing Samuel L. Jackson, and wanted to tell you why, but, we weren't supposed to blow the secret. Not that anybody from the league office would trust me to keep my big fat mouth shut, but that was a nice moment when he came out dressed as Uncle Samuel as Uncle Sam, and he interjected 3 or 4 times during the show. And, I remember it's been 10, 15 years. They stopped paying the performer for
I have to explain this to people all the time. I explain this to people because people are shocked. They think, oh, wow, they're doing that. They're getting paid, right? I think it's one of the little known facts about the Super Bowl that people don't realize.
At one point, there was some reporting suggesting that the NFL actually cut a deal to create a revenue stream where you get a percentage of what the person makes in the aftermath.
Right.
Tour sales, record sales, song sales, however they monetize music nowadays. I don't know, but you get a boost. I'm sure on Monday that Not Like Us was streamed as much as it had ever been streamed in its existence. Any of his other songs, the video watched. So on top of the 133 million who watched it live, millions more will watch it over and over again on YouTube and elsewhere. So, it's a huge boost to the career of the person who does it. And if they nail it, it's an even bigger boost. And it introduces you to a whole new audience. And just the hip-hop genre, it's good because you have people out there who might not have been inclined to be interested.
I think that's what
I kind of like this. I'm impressed by the skill of this human.
Right.
I want to hear more.
I think that's why there's some of the backlash, honestly. I just don't think he became mainstream enough through a lot of America, right? Young kids, right? Areas that maybe are into hip-hop more than others. But, I don't know if he's up there with, like, we did a rap type halftime right in LA with 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg and Eminem and Dr. Dre, and they've been around so long that everybody in American culture knows them. Kendrick Lamar is a recent fad, not a fad. He's been around in the hip hop world and been the man, don't get me wrong, but last year he blew up to another level with the Not Like Us Drake bit, and I don't know if mainstream America is definitely people like, your age, quite honestly, right? I'm not trying to be a jerk, but he's not He's, oh yeah, I've
You'll
heard
have
of
to
him,
try.
but I don't know a song, right? That's what I hear of that, and I think that's where kind of the rubber meets the road on the subject a little bit.
And this is something that I've been following for so long. I realize a lot of people out there don't understand how the Super Bowl halftime show came to be this extravaganza that is aimed at not just holding the audience, but boosting the audience. The average for the game was 127.7, an all-time record. Imagine what the number would have been if it was actually a good game into the second half. It peaked at 137 in the second quarter. You get a good game, you're going to be a lot closer to 137 than 127, but 133.5 during halftime. This all happened because the show on Fox in living color did counter-programming, and they did a live show during halftime of the Super Bowl and sucked away enough audience to get the NFL to say, we better have something better than. And here's a few examples. And this is real. This is real, actual pre-1993 Super Bowl halftime shows. Bebop Bamboozled, featuring 3D effects. That was 1989.
Yeah.
Something Grand, featuring 88 grand pianos, the Rockettes, and Chubby Checker. That was 1988. A World of Children's Dreams was the halftime show in 1985. Super Bowl 18 Salute to the Superstars of the Silver Screen. That was 1984.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what happened
1986
was
Super Bowl in the Rose Bowl. I told my kids this the other day. I was like, there wasn't a show. I mean, they played some Disney music, and Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse were walking around doing some dances, but there was no star, right? So that you're exactly
it was called
right.
Beat of the Future was the halftime show. No, that was 86. You would have been
87.
at Salute to Hollywood's 100th anniversary.
That would have been it. That's what it was. That's what it was. And I believe, like, you've said everything right. And then I believe really the Michael Jackson at the Rose Bowl, the Bills versus Cowboys, was the halftime show, as I understand it, that really changed everything in the NFL from that point on, with the theatrics of the halftime show and going big time with the star.
Yeah, then after that, it was stars every year. Although some years, like 1997, it was the Blues Brothers Bash with Dan Aykroyd, John Goodman, James Belushi.
Because it was down in New Orleans?
Remember that.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that. Then I'm scrolling up here. We've had Stevie Wonder. We've had Boyz II Men, Phil Collins, Christina Aguilera. That was all in one year. U2, that was one of the most memorable because that was the year after 9/11, and they had the names of the victims and the halftime. I was never really much. This is an example of why it's so valuable. I was never really much into U2 until that halftime show. And not that I'm a huge U2 fan, but I started listening to them after that. Prince had a great one in 2007, The Rain in Miami.
Yep.
Paul McCartney's in Super Bowl 39, I thought was awesome. He was at the game the other night, by the way. So it changed as of 1993, and it had kind of been like someone established who's been around for a long time. And I think that's where this year's is different.
That's right. That's what I was trying to say.
It was somebody that doesn't fit the idea of everybody knows who this is.
Right. Exactly right. And that's where I think the disconnect is, and hopefully this will be the jump-off point where people that didn't know who he was know who he is and start to appreciate his music a little bit.
And there's always that question, who's it going to be next year? Who's it going to be next year? Who's it going to be next year? And it trickles out over the course of the late summer and into the football season, and then that just becomes one of the issues. But there's always that challenge of who is it going to be? But it's always going to be a big deal. It's very well produced. They put a lot of money into it, just not to the performer.
Something is brewing in Las Vegas, and it could change everything. A shocking move is on the table involving a former teammate, a major award winner, and a franchise hungry for a spark. What's happening behind the scenes will leave you speechless. Raiders floated as trade fit for award-winning former Davante Adams teammate. One of the biggest moves to happen during the 2024 regular season was the Las Vegas Raiders trading wide receiver Davante Adams to the New York Jets. The deal ended up being a disaster for the Jets, and the Raiders have yet to find a new one wide receiver. New York is undergoing some major changes under new head coach Aaron Glenn. It's possible that he might want to move on from some star players to add draft picks. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson would be one of their most valuable assets. The former Offensive Rookie of the Year has broken 1,000 receiving yards in each of his 3 seasons, and is still under contract for 2 more years. He'd be a valuable trade piece for the Jets, and Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report believes the Raiders would be one of the best fits for him. Still only 24, Wilson has already produced 3 1,000-yard campaigns, Knox wrote. He also played with Fields in college, which increases his value to the Jets. A late 2025 first-round pick would likely be the minimum asking price, and the Jets would probably want even more if dealing in 2026 draft capital. Wilson, however, would be a prime target for cap-rich receiver-needy teams like the Las Vegas Raiders and Tennessee Titans. Knox noted that the price for Wilson would likely be a first-round pick or more. Giving up the no. 6 pick for a wide receiver who needs a new contract is a steep price, but their 2026 first-round pick could be expendable. Man, if the Raiders pull this off, it could be the spark we've been waiting for. What do you think? Worth the risk? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, and let's talk Raiders football.